I'm going to do a plant pot tour and document where all the pots I have came from, because most of them didn't start their lives as plant pots. Most of the outer pots anyway. And I like thinking about the lives of objects and all the phases they've been through. So I'll start up here. That's really high up, so I'm not sure you can see it properly. I think this used to be my grandmother's lard pot, like if you roast a goose, all the fat that comes off it that you pour off. But then it was living in my mum's potting shed for a long time, and I guess I stole it. This one looks almost exactly the same but bigger, but I pulled that one out of a dump or one of the tips at the recycling centre. This is a self-watering planter. It's not self-watering yet. Most things that I have, turns out, don't want to be wick watered, but it will grow its roots down into this chamber, and then I'll pull the wick out and start putting water in, and they'll just suck up the water whenever they want it. They won't go mushy because there'll be water roots. It's the same way self-watering planters that you buy in a shop work. There's a membrane and a reservoir, and the roots grow through the membrane. This is an actual plant pot from a shop. It was a Christmas present, and I have a smaller matching one. This is a terracotta pot. I think it's one that maybe I painted when I was in primary school. Again, I raided it from the potting shed. Another terracotta pot. I think this I bought in a load from an auction. I bought about 12 pots altogether in different sizes. This is another one from the skip. I think it was a cooking pot or maybe an oven dish or something. A lot of my planters are broken teacups. At the beginning of learning about plants, I wanted to drill holes in the bottom of everything and plant them right into the pots, but actually I found that's not so convenient, and now I just prefer putting an inner planter into an outer planter. That way you can do the self-watering thing eventually. This is starting to grow roots down. This is a plastic bottle. I ran out of planters quite quickly, plastic planters, terracotta planters, so I started using various other things. This is planted right into it. So I drilled some holes in there. Wouldn't have done that nowadays. And this is, I've got a whole load of these as well. These are lids from a coffee jar. They use a lot of it at my office, so there are always those lids drying on the counter, ready to go to recycling. This is a trophy from my partner's high school, I think. I think I'll probably make a more fitted planter to go into it, and then these guys will have a bit more width. At the moment it's just being a water catcher. Another teacup, another classic from primary school. I think that was my sister. Oh, that's growing roots out. Auction. I think this bowl, we've had these bowls for as long as I can remember. This one broke recently. I think originally they had pâté in them, like Nutella cups, you know, but a ceramic bowl of pâté. It broke in half, so I've been wabi-sabiing it with nail polish. This is half a coconut. I'm not sure it's ideal because it's it's going a bit mouldy underneath. It's kind of okay because it's a succulent, so it wants to be dry most of the time, but I don't know if an organic thing like this really makes an ideal in a planter. No, the teacup, I might paint this one. It's a bit white for my liking. I like colours. I've got some glass ceramic paints. I might make it spotty and rainbow. This guy, like this one actually. It had this frill all the way around the outside, and I just didn't like it. So I have this tile nipper we used for help tiling the bathroom, and I just kind of nibbled all the frilly bits off, and now it is fixed. I prefer it. It looks less neat, but also less frilly. I don't know why I don't like it. This is, I think it's the lid from a tagine, and I drilled some holes in it. That was surprisingly easy. Most of these ceramic things, really difficult to drill. This was really soft. It must have been fired at a lower temperature. Beer can. A few of my planters are beer cans. Inside that's just a plastic nursery pot. Easy. Well, it was a really horrible noise actually cutting it. I think I just used a hobby knife, which probably wasn't very good for the hobby knife. I made the worst noise ever, but now I have a beer can planter. So this used to be a candle. I found it I went to my friend's wedding in Portland, and we went to those big Goodwill warehouses full of bins, and that was in the crockery section, full of a candle. So I melted the candle out, put a plant in it. I don't know what this is. Some sort of I think it's some sort of a mini little single serving lasagne pot or something. It has a lid. I like it a lot, and it works really well for this plant because it wants to be low and sprawling. But it's too bright to see. More self-watering bottle planters. This is a Harrogate water bottle, if anyone recognises that. Another self-watering planter. I bought some glass paints, and we had at my sister's hen party. I made a load of these, cut these so we could paint them. So this is from that as well, the Hattie Fatteners. This one is a paint bucket. We've been doing a lot of house DIY painting stuff, and so we've got a lot of paint buckets, and they're various sizes, and they're all quite good for plants. So this is another one of the auction terracotta pots, and the paper was gift wrap for a present for my partner, and I really liked it. So wrapping paper. Then I washed out the pot before finishing it with a layer of PVA over the top, which is why it has all this water damage, but I think that looks quite rustic and romantic as well, really. This is an actual plant pot, gift from my friend. Lots of terracotta auction pots, another self-watering planter in there. This was from a charity shop. I just thought it would make a nice water catcher underneath. These are some more paint pot experiments. Or I think this was a Haribo pot actually, so this is nursery pot inside. I think this is a bucket of Haribo. There's some things to keep the nursery pot off the water when the water drains out. I covered this one in fabric. This fabric was the lining from a bag. I like the lining better than the outside, so I turned the bag inside out, but I don't think this fabric was really meant to withstand the wear and tear of being the outside of a bag. So it disintegrated. Now it's a plant pot. I think it makes a nice plant pot. This purple it used to be my partner's beautiful silky purple trousers, which they wore a lot, and it ended up disintegrating as well. These are the leaves from a smoke bush from my neighbour's garden. They were doing some pruning and I thought the leaves were really, really beautiful and would make nice dried leaf art. I don't think it'll last very long. It's already started chipping away. It's nice at the moment. I'm intending to do another layer of PVA over the top to be a kind of strengthening varnish. I'm not sure it'll last long either way though. I might end up redecorating it. It's nice while it lasts. This is a work in progress. I might end up abandoning it totally. I made it much too big for this pot really. I'll probably have this as the inside fabric that folds over and cover it with something a bit less loud. This is an actual plant pot that I bought from a plant pot shop. I think one of the 2 plant pots I've ever bought myself. I really, really love it. And plastic in a pot. I would aim to eventually have most of my plants in terracotta because they prefer it, but at the moment it's still early days in my plant career. This one, again, a charity shop. I think it was some sort of a serving dish. It has an inner kind of some sort of a metal, maybe cast iron bit that comes out. I wonder if you could you're supposed to put tea lights under it to keep it hot. Now it's a multi-plant holder, but I moved one of the plants that was in out, so now it's a plant and wine holder. This is not a plant pot, but I just think it's so beautiful. It came from an auction. My mum was buying a load of things and it came in one of the boxes. And I just think it's the most beautiful thing. Apparently it's a ginger jar. There are a lot of crazy ornate ginger jars from that era. But I'm using it as kind of a random stuff jar, like, you know, paper clips and safety pins, blue tack. Really, really big safety pins. Because they might as well be in a beautiful, beautiful ginger jar. This planter doesn't look amazing. It's just like the nursery pot hanging planter. Ideally, I could put something attractive around it, but it's really, really convenient because it's got this built-in drainage, which means that I don't have to take it down to water it. I need to take it down sometimes anyway to re-soap the peat, but I don't know, for now I'm just leaving it like this. Eventually when the string of hearts grows enough you won't be able to see it anyway. This is a paint bucket in a planter that doesn't have outer at the moment. I just slashed holes in the bottom with a hobby knife. I say just, it was quite difficult. I don't think it's a very good hobby knife anymore. This was the lid. This would be good as a hanging planter in a macrame holder because you could see the bottom then. But at the moment it's not, it's just catching the water. The lid was from the tip from the dump. I've been making some cash pose with my 2-year-old. And the inner planter for this is a pot of cream. I'm hoping that by stabbing loads and loads and loads and loads of holes in it, it'll kind of be breathable and it'll keep it off being directly up against the inner pot. I think the inner pot's, no, the outer pot. I think the outer pot is a yogurt pot. I covered with paper that I painted with my baby. Yeah, I don't know if the holes are big enough for proper drainage. I'm trying stuff out at the moment. This one has a normal nursery pot when it came in. And this, another hen party. We went to one of those ceramic painting studios. I got the biggest mug I could find. This was another birthday present. Little ceramic hanging planter. I love this glaze. This guy doesn't have any kind of cash pot yet, or even water catcher. I haven't watered it yet. Creme fraiche pot. No. I'm not sure what this was originally. I'm guessing it had some kind of food in it. Got marbles inside. It's a propagation chamber, but nothing's really living in there right now. These peperomia don't really want to be leaf propagated. This was from, there's an auction we go to sometimes, and all the way at the end of the day, everyone kind of dumps all the stuff that they didn't want, that came in the boxes that they did want, in a tip, and it's really fun going through it and picking up people's unwanted beautiful things. So this was again from my early days. I put the hole in the bottom, which for this vessel works quite well because it's very small. The hole's quite big. It was easy to drill through. There are other ones that fared worse from that thinking. I think this is the lid from an ink pot, maybe. Also from the dump. No, from the auction dump. Well, this is a pot in a pot in a pot. Got the nursery pot. And then this is another candle, I think. I melted the candle out and put the pot in it because I like plants more than I like candles. And then this was a craft activity that my 2-year-old and I did at church. Doesn't really make a great cash pot because it's a biodegradable planter that you're supposed to grow something in and then plant it into the air. But it's cool because it's got the inner pot. This was a teacup that I rescued from the office, an abandoned office. This is another auction guy, and I made kind of a fitted planter to go into this one. It's made of sellotape and a plastic fruit container. Seems to be going okay. These are some of my favourite auction bin wins. Got 2 matching ones. Got a dish as well that matches. Another self-watering bottle planter. It just came with, I think, with the thicker skin thing over there. I didn't really want the pot, but I might paint it or cover it. The paint is all peeling off. It's really sad. Another coffee pot lid. Supermarket impulse buy. Beer can. There's the other half of the beer can. And this is another one that came from the auction. And the opening was really small, but I really wanted to use it as a planter. So I took my tile nibbler and I nibbled away the edge, and the pot didn't like it, so it broke into many, many pieces. And I stuck it all back together with epoxy resin glue. And I made some extra holes in the bottom for drainage. I probably wouldn't have done that now, but it actually works quite well. And a fitted drainage dish I made from a plastic, like a strawberry punnet, you know, and lots of PVA glue. This is an actual plant pot raided from the plant pot shed. Bottle planter. This very classy grey ceramic planter came with the plant from the plant shop, and I don't think it was really very well thought through design wise, because It's ceramic, so it's breathable. So you'd want to plant something straight into, but it doesn't have any drainage holes. And as a cache pot, it's not very good because the water seeps out and makes wet patches on whatever it's sitting on. So it really needs to be sitting on a mat or have little feet to keep it off the ground. I'll probably eventually I'll drill holes in the bottom and use it as a direct planter. As another auction pot, coffee lid, auction bin. This one was an experiment. It's a woven planter. I've got a peg loom and I haven't done too much on it yet. I want to make a rug for my baby's room. I made this planter. And then I have no idea what that dish was for originally. It came from my partner's office. And that's this room. These ones, big plastic nursery pots. And using lasagna dishes as the catching trays. So I can water them from the bottom. I don't think, this might be a flan dish or just, I don't know what that is. That's where I keep my indoor gardening bowls. What do I got down here? This was a broken milk jug or cream jug or something. It doesn't have a plant right now. We're using it as a soap dish. But it did have a plant until that plant died because it was on this dark wall. Terracotta, self-watering planter, tool shed, planter, see-through orchid planter. Oh crap, I'm killing my calathea here. Sorry, calathea. Air plants, not really a planter since they don't need soil, but they have lots of fun mounting possibilities. This is one of those super Pinterest and Instagram friendly geometric Scandi metal things. It came with the air plant. So it was a present from my mother-in-law. We both kind of gravitated towards it. I'm not sure we'd either of us had much to do with air plants before. And this guy's just hanging on this branch. Oy. So I dried out and peeled the bark off. Alright, look out for a more interesting branch. This one doesn't have a plant in it right now, but it does sometimes, and it was bought in a charity shop. I think it used to be an ice bucket. Came with this handy, ice claw. When I was putting together this jade nursery, I needed a lot of planters all at once and I was all out. So these are all sorts. And then I did some experimental plant cover makers. Most of them are fail. I like one of them. This was a fail. I think really it needs a bottom to make it look good and it needs to go down further at the top. This is in 2 vegan margarine pots. Has an inner and an outer that fit together. This is another fail. This is a mushroom pot. Unless we're getting them at the greengrocer, there doesn't seem to be much option but to get mushrooms in these plastic pots. So again, you see that? Just jabbed a load of holes into the bottom. And I've got some rocks in here as well to keep them off the water because they collapse quite far into each other. I think this is a soup pot. Again, it's the double layer thing. This is another one of these annoyingly designed planters that doesn't hold water in to be a cash pot and doesn't have a hole to allow enough drainage for a happy cactus, but careful watering, it should be fine. It seems fine thus far. Soup mug, rescued from an abandoned office. This is the one that I like. So this one's in these little fruit trays that I added extra drainage into. And then that's within a mushroom pot. The cash pot. And then that's in this kind of fabric decoupage patchwork, which I do like. This stripy fabric, it's batiqued and it's quite sturdy, so it keeps its structure quite well because it's still quite waxy. I made it ages ago at school and I've got loads of it, so and then I stuck that stuff to it with PVA. This fabric was from one of the art projects my sister did for her wedding. I think this is probably my favourite pot. I think it's really beautiful. I'm not sure you can see the glaze properly on the camera. This was a Christmas present or a birthday present, and it's really big, really beautiful. And it's standing on this copper catching tray, which it doesn't actually need at the moment because the plant inside it is, I think it's inside a pot with no drainage inside a bucket inside the planter. The big plant was an office rescue, and I thought I'd just leave it as is for the time being while it recovered from having not been watered for like 3 months or whatever. Probably I'll need to do something with it at some point though. Self-watering planter. I think this might be the only self-watering planter now, one of two that's actually functioning at the moment with wick watering. This was like a classic milk bottle. When I was cutting the bottles, for some reason there was a really low success rate on the clear glass bottles. And it just seemed to be weaker glass than the brown or the green glass bottles. They kept snapping. Another one of these, another beer can. Another trophy. Where's the light? Auction bin. This wasn't from the auction. Oh, it's just, oops, it's been sitting in water. Sorry, Pepperomia. This was from one of the things from an auction box that we didn't want and or was broken. I don't know, it was broken when we got it. Drilled holes in it. I don't know if those holes are really big enough, but I need to put this out. Do that later. This one obviously matches this jug. But since the bottom was bigger than the top, I decided to just kind of chisel out the whole bottom and put a little plastic grill in the bottom, well, the top, which became the bottom. But ruthless. And it broke, and I stuck it back together. But you know. It's weird. It's nice. It's a very pretty lid. I think that might be the lid from candle holder in the other room. I think this is more or less the end. This is in a really huge terracotta pot. But I don't get to keep that because it's not my plant. It's on, I don't know, a salad tray? textured print of a big massive leaf. Charity shop. And then this amazing thing. It's actually foldable. All these panels are hinged. And it folds up, this thing comes off. And I think it was my grandparents